Talk Show. Recorded live.
Welcome to Motorsports Nation. Jimmy Johnson doesn't like techno, but Motorsports Nation does. Welcome to Motorsports Nation. This is your host, Tyler. We are also joined by Glenn, our open wheel reporter and co-host, and Marshall, our panelist. And I don't know if I technically like that, but it's royalty-free, so you know. So let's get things started, and we're going to start with Marshall's K&N West Pro Series. So handing it over to you, Marshall.
Thank you, Tyler. Good song as well there. But Austin Dine earned an award in the K&N West Series this week. At the age of 20, he was crowned the 2012 Rookie of the Year. Dine had 2 top 5s and 8 top 10 finishes and 14 starts this year. He also had an average finish of 9th. Dine drives the number 9 William Rass Lucas Oil Ford owned by Bob Brunkeide. This could prove that this is a good young driver and many more things to come from him. Just look at the past winners of the Rookie of the Year in this K&N West Series. Dylan Kwasniewski won it last year and came back to win the championship this year. David Gilligan won it a while back, but now he's racing in the Sprint Cup Series. Chad Little and Derek Coper on another of the notables, there. Dine will be recognized for this award December 8th at the NASCAR Night of Champions. The Night of Champions takes place in Charlotte, North Carolina. So with that, let's head over to the V8 Supercars. Craig Lowndes won the 67-lap race at Winston this weekend, but the story of the day was when Lowndes' teammate, James Whincup, points leader, came back from a pit road penalty to finish third. Whincup now has a 380-point lead over second-place Mark Winterbottom, who finished second. So with the season finale in Sydney, Australia, next week, all Whincup has to do is have a 300-day or has a point day of 300 or better to win his 4th V8 Supercar Championship. Whincup commented about the race, saying, "We did it the hard way today. That's spinning in the pits. It's a bit of a wonker rule, but at the end of the day, I broke the rules and deserved the penalty." Also in the news, Dick Johnson announces he will go to a 3-car team and all 3 cars will go for a championship. Here's what Johnson had to say about it. "Today we signed a heads of agreement between Steve, Marie, and myself for the future of DJR, which will inspire all the rumors we are dead and buried." Very strong statement there from a guy that hasn't been doing so well, but we'll see if he can come back and do something here. So let's just jump right into the Mexico Toyota Series. Although their season has come to an end, an award was handed out. The 16-year-old Ruben Garcia Jr. has received Rookie of the Year for 2012. Ruben Garcia Jr. is son of veteran Mexico Toyota Series driver Ruben Garcia. In 2011, Ruben Garcia Jr. had a dominating performance in the stock V6 car series, which is the development series for the Mexico Racing Series. This year, Garcia earned 7 top 10 finishes and 1 top 5 finish, but sadly no wins. Garcia gave himself a boost to the Rookie of the Year award by finishing third in the season finale, his best career finish in the Mexico Series. This also could be a sign that good things are to come. Other Rookie of the Years have been handed out in the past to Antonio Perez, the 2008 Mexico Toyota Series champion, and also handed out to Daniel Suarez, who was a contender for the title this year in the Mexico Toyota Racing Series. Garcia will also be recognized for this award at the NASCAR Night of Champs, and once again, the night will take place in Charlotte, North Carolina on December 8th. Now, this goes for all of the series. For the champion in European Race Car, Mexico Toyota Series, K&N West and East Pro Series, Canadian Tire, and Wheel and Modified Series, all those champions have locked themselves a spot in either whatever of their choice, either the Daytona 500, the the nationwide race at Daytona, or the truck race at Daytona, all in 2012. This is really cool because even though they won a lower division NASCAR championship, you get to see them televised live on TV, and it gives the driver a chance to get recognized by a NASCAR owner. One driver that has already raced a couple races in the truck series that won the K&N East championship would be Kyle Larson, who drove the number 4 truck for a couple races in 2012. Actually, he almost won the Lucas Oil 150 at Phoenix a couple weeks back, but ended up second in that race. One last thing is for all of the series again, the mods, the K&N West and East, European Race Car, Mexico Toyota Series, and Canadian Tire Series, they all still have balloting open for favorite driver of the year. To vote, go to www.hometracks.com. Once again, that is www.hometracks.com. And that's all I got for this week. So without further ado, let's head it back to Tyler.
And we're going to go over to Glenn for his combined Formula One and IndyCar report.
All right, thank you very much, Tyler. And I'm having a little technical difficulties here, especially with my stats here, but I think I got it working now. But this week's Formula One Series was racing at the brand new Circuit of the Americas track for the running of the 2012 Formula One United States Grand Prix. And this track got a lot of great reviews on its first practicing day, and many of the drivers were having trouble with finding grip in turns 19, turn 1 as well, turn 2. And this is a very interesting race. Sebastian Vettel claimed the very first pole award of the United States GP, with Lewis Hamilton starting second. Starting in the first spot would be Vettel's teammate Mark Webber. And starting fourth would be Kimi Räikkönen. Now, just before the race, Roman Grosjean had to suffer a 5 grid spot penalty for an unscheduled gearbox change. Michael Schumacher and I forget the other car were involved in a practice crash. However, they both avoided the stewards. When the green flag flew, Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber continued on as they virtually dominated this race. But unfortunately, on lap 16, Mark Webber's alternator went wrong, and he ended up retiring. This is the third time that Mark Webber has had mechanical trouble like this, and so he would end up retiring after lap 16. And before all that, the SRT Ferrari of Jean-Eric Vergne ended up falling out of the race due to suspension damage. As the race wore on, it looked like Sebastian Vettel could easily wrap up this championship, but Felipe Massa was still right there in his tire tracks. All that Vettel needed to do was to basically gain 15 points on Alonso, but Alonso continued on and crept slowly up through the field. But there was another car that was also creeping up his rear end, and that was the McLaren Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, who with just about 20 laps of racing to go, actually a little bit before that, Lewis Hamilton surpassed Sebastian Vettel, and Twitter pretty much crashed with a lot of fans pulling for Lewis Hamilton. And after 56 laps, coming out of the final corner, even though Vettel was slowly closing in on Lewis Hamilton and the McLaren Mercedes won the first Formula One United States Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. Sebastian Vettel finished second, and Fernando Alonso finished third. This was certainly an awesome race. I enjoyed the heck out of it, and this is a really, really neat track. Only trouble that they had was the fact that they couldn't find any grip. So thank God Pirelli and F1 provided them with an extra set of tires for the race. So let's take a look at the finishing order here and see where your favorite driver finished. I mentioned Hamilton, Vettel, and Alonso were the podium. This was the first time this year, first time ever actually, that all three of these drivers were on the podium at the same time. Felipe Massa finished in the fourth spot. Jenson Button finished fifth. Kimi Räikkönen finished sixth. Roman Grosjean seventh. Nico Hülkenberg finished eighth. Ninth was Pastor Maldonado, a good finish for him, and rounding out the top 10 was Bruno Senna. Other notable finishers in the race: Sergio Perez finished 11th, Nico Rosberg finished 13th, Kamui Kobayashi 14th, Michael Schumacher finished 16th. His car had some issues. Pedro de la Rosa was 21st, and our in car for Kane was 22nd. And as I mentioned, Mark Webber and Jean-Eric Vergne were the cars that were also messed up, or that were involved in the accident. Now, one minor note here: Felipe Massa also had to drop 5 grid spots after breaking a gearbox. So that didn't really slow him down, but I will say, Circuit of the Americas was an awesome race, and I hope, and I really do hope this. I hope that the IZOD IndyCar series and a few other series will get to come on this track again, because it looks like it's a fun circuit, and it was just rather fun to see on TV. So hopefully F1 is there to stay, and hopefully we can get some more series to race at the Circuit of the Americas. But now let's take a look at the point standings, and the race has become much tighter. Vettel still leads the championship over Fernando Alonso by 13 points. And so, no championship was claimed at this time. But coming up this week, we're going to head to the ultimate race. We're heading to the Coliseum, which is Interlagos in São Paulo, Brazil, the Formula One Grande Primo Petrobras do Brasil 2012. This 15-turn road course is going to decide who is going to be our champion. And so they'll be racing on Interlagos. And Interlagos is my third favorite F1 track, right behind Monza, as well as Monaco, because this facility is just beautiful, and also it's very high up, which means there's a lot of altitude changes, and so a good handling race car is what you want here. You don't necessarily need one with a lot of speed, but you just need a little bit of handling to help you out. So let's go for a lap around here and show you how you get around this place. Front stretch is a very fast straightaway. We'll be going up the hill. Then in turns 1 and 2, you'll be going through the Senna S, where you're going to have to be super careful here. In fact, many cars have actually lost control over this corner. Turn number 3 is a left-hander, the Curva do Sol, which leads onto a backstretch here, which is called the Reta o Pasta, and here you'll have to hit full throttle and as you make your way to turn 4. Now, turn 4, it may seem like it sweeps, but it actually is a half sweeper turn, half sharp turn. So you're going to have to really break it down as you go into turn number 4. Turn number 5 curves to the left a little bit as you go past the Terrace Club and the Interlagos VIP Club, before you head back up the hill to turns 6, 7, and 8. 6 and 7 are connected as the Curva de La Regina, if I read that correctly. With turn number 8, a sharp right-hander before you head into turn number 9, which is sort of like a U-turn. Turn number 10 is the Bisco de Pato, where here is a very sharp apex. In fact, these cars will probably end up going to first or second gear to get through that corner. Turn number 11 it's not much of a turn, but you got to be careful here, because if you take this corner too fast, you're going to end up in the Tulis. Turn number 12 takes you to the left, where if you swing out wide enough, you can take turn 13 at almost full throttle, and as you come up the hill, you're going to end up into turn 14. Turn 15 is a little kink in the racetrack that'll take you right back to the start-finish line, and if you can do it at a lap of 111.473 that was set by Juan Pablo Montoya in 2004, you will truly master Interlagos. 71 laps going to make up the running, and basically the championship scenario in this case, with 13 points separating Vettel and Alonso, really all that Vettel needs to do is just finish ahead of Fernando, and he's got the title. But if Fernando finishes ahead of Vettel and gets the maximum points, which is 25 for finishing first, then Alonso can actually clinch it, because here's the points breakdown. First place pays 25 points, and then second place 18, third place 15, fourth 12, fifth place pays you 10 points, and then it goes 8, 6, 4, 2, and then 10th place gets you 1 point. So basically, these two are going to be leapfrogging each other throughout the entire race. Now, who has the advantage and who's at a little bit of a disadvantage? The advantage has to go to Fernando Alonso in the Ferrari, because here's why. The Ferraris have have done really well on tracks that need a lot of handling. They've lacked a little bit in speed, but at a handling road course like Interlagos, this is where the Ferraris have shown their stuff. The Red Bull Renaults are at a slight disadvantage because they are more of a speed team. Unfortunately, handling for them has caused some issues for Sebastian Vettel as well as Mark Webber. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So who's it going to be? Is it going to be Fernando Alonso in the Ferrari to finally get his first FIA World Championship, or can Sebastian Vettel claim another back-to-back title and be the youngest driver to do it? Well, we'll have picks. We'll have our final picks of the year for this series coming up later on in the show, and we'll see who each one of us thinks could get the title. So now we roll things over back to America as we talk about the IZOD IndyCar Series, and the next domino to fall in the silly season deal falls into the hands of Graham Rahal. It was announced that Graham Rahal will run for will run for the Rahal Letterman Lanigan team next year in 2013. Sponsors from sponsorship from Midas as well as Valvoline, and this is a 3-year deal. And he will drive the number 15 car. That's right, I said the 15 car because Takuma Sato is out. Takuma is not returning to Rahal Letterman Lanigan. A second car was trying to materialize, but unfortunately it didn't materialize. So we're not sure where Takuma Sato will go. And we'll see where he goes. So we'll certainly keep you updated on it. But I will say that because Takuma Sato was backed by Honda, it will probably be a Honda team. So who's it going to be? Is it going to be Sam Schmidt Motorsports? Could it be somebody like Ganassi? Could it be AJ Foyt? Brian Herta Autosport? We don't know. We may not even know until the very next year. And by the way, too, the livery for Graham Rahal is very similar to his service center car, except just a few minor changes and a little change in color tone with the blue and the red. But believe me, it looks like a really slick machine. If you go back to the Rahal Letterman Lanigan Twitter page, which is at RLL Racing. You can see this as well as also going to Graham Rahal's page, which is at Graham Rahal. Let's see here. Also, with the departure of Bob Jenkins from the booth, we now bring in a new lead analyst. As now Lee Diffie, who did the Rolex Sports Car Series races for Speed Channel, is going to become the lead anchor at at NBC Sports Network. I'm so used to saying Motorsports Nation that it almost came out like that. So he was selected to be to replace the retired Bob Jenkins in the IZOD IndyCar Series telecasts, and it looks like that he will be joined by Jan Beekes, my good buddy, as well as Wally Dallenbach. So great to have him here in the IZOD IndyCar Series. Also, some interesting news. Tickets are on sale, and I'm trying to get the thing loaded up here. Here we go. Individual tickets are on sale for the Firestone 550 at Texas Motor Speedway. They're available for purchasing at the Texas Motor Speedway ticket office or calling the ticket office at 817-215-8500. That's 817-215-8500, or by visiting TexasMotorSpeedway.com. And speaking of Texas Motor Speedway, just a few days ago, AV Racing Technology drivers Tony Kanaan and his new teammate Simona De Silvestro started preparation for the 19-race schedule next year by testing their Chevrolet-powered cars around the track. So hopefully that test went well, and we'll see what happens with those two next year. So a lot of interesting stuff here, a lot of silly season happening. In fact, one piece of advice or one piece of news that I heard was that the talks between AJ Foyt and Ryan Briscoe have officially stopped. So that means Briscoe is not going to the 14 car of AJ Foyt. So where's Briscoe going to go? We don't know. And also Rubens Barrichello popped up in the news as well as possibly going over to Sam Schmidt to run a second car. But now those talks have completely stopped, or at least, or have they? Well, we'll have to wait and see as the days go on. And I know that we only have a few more shows left in the 2012 year, but I bet you that our first show of 2013 will have all the news on where everybody's going, who's set, and where everybody is. All right, so now after doing a little bit of open wheel racing, we head on over to a sentimental weekend over in the Homestead Miami Speedway, where all three divisions crowned their champion: the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, the NASCAR Nationwide Series, and the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, as they raced on the famed Homestead Miami Speedway. Who won the championships and who won the races? Well, let's find out. And so, for one more time this year, Tyler, start those engines.
Absolutely. And we're going to start with the Truck Series race, which obviously was the best race of the weekend. You can't argue against it. But you had three drivers having a mathematical chance in winning the championship. That would be James Buescher was in the lead by over 11 over Timothy Peters and 12 over Ty Dillon. And Ty Dillon really gave him his run for his money with just 3 laps to go. Ty Dillon had worked himself up into about third position. I can't remember correctly, but he was within 2 points. When he went to go try to pass Kyle Larson got into him, spun him, and it's just a racing deal, and ruined Ty Dillon's chances at winning this championship. Timothy Peters just did not run well all race, so he was out of it. And James Buescher, driver of the number 31, won your championship. But it wasn't over. On the green, white, checkered finish, following a red flag stop, Cale Gale, driver of the number 33 Ream Chevrolet for Eddie Sharp Racing, drove hard, door-to-door, with Kyle Busch on the final lap. They came out of 4 when Kyle Busch was on the high side. Cale Gale got him close up to the wall. They were drag racing down, and right before the start-finish line, Cale Gale shoved Kyle into the wall. Cale Gale won by .04 over Kyle Busch. Obviously, Kyle Busch finished second in the Ford EcoBoost 200 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Gale became a record-breaking 16th different winner during this 2012 season. Busch obviously finished second. James Buescher, with a 13th place finish, became the Camping World Truck Series champion. Congrats, and their banquet is actually tonight. Just 6 points ahead of second place, Timothy Peters. Misfortune following the number 3 of Ty Dillon moved him out of championship contention with just 3 laps to go. All Ty Dillon had to do was gain 2 more positions, and he would have been your champion. Coulter finished second. Third. Joey Coulter, number 22, finished third. He will be going to Kyle Busch Motorsports next year. Nelson Paquette Jr., who's come on really nicely in the last few weeks. Miguel Paludo, Johnny Sauter, who's had some misfortune this year, but I believe next year he will be a contender. Parker Kligerman, and we don't know his plans for next year, but I think Parker, if he runs trucks, could easily win this championship. Timothy Peters, Justin Lofton, and Ross Chastain rounded out your top 10. There were 11 lead changes among 7 different drivers, with 5 caution flags for 23 laps. And it was just a very interesting race. So again, congratulations to James Buescher, your 2012 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series champion. So now let's get into some stats. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series championship, fast facts. And obviously the driver was James Buescher this year. He was driver of the number 31 Great Clips Chevrolet for Turner Motorsports. Here's some fast facts for you. James finished the 2012 season with a series-high 4 wins. He also had 10 top 5s and 14 top 10s. Buescher finished 6th, points ahead of Timothy Peters, like I said, And at 22 years old, James Buescher became the second youngest champion in the Camping World Truck Series history. Buescher was also the 12th different driver to win the Camping World Truck Series championship. And James Buescher won his first Camping World Truck Series championship, and his best championship points finish was third, and that was from 2011. So let's go over to some Turner Motorsports stats. And this championship was very special for Turner Motorsports, who has run well the last few years. And Turner Motorsports gained their first Camping World Truck Series championship. Owner Steve Turner fielded his first truck in the 2009 series, and last season finished a then career-high third in the points with Buescher behind the wheel. Now it's first, and that's a lot better. Turner Motorsports fielded two other full-time trucks this season, driven by 30 of Nelson Perquette Jr. and the 32 of Miguel Paludo. Turner Motorsports also won with Casey Kane in number 4 at Rockingham. Yeah, my pick. And this is the manufacturer This is manufacturer Chevrolet's 12th series championship, and yes, that is the most in the series. Oh, don't forget about the guy who makes all the setups, Michael Shelton, your crew chief, and this is Mike Shelton's first career Camping World Truck Series championship, and his previous best finish was third with Buescher in 2011. So your driver standings following the whole 2012 season: in 10th place was Miguel Paludo. Johnny Sauter finished 9th, who had just an up-and-down season. Justin Lofton, 8th. Nelson Perquette Jr., who I think next year will be very good. He was showing the last few weeks. Matt Crafton finished 6th, followed by Parker Kligerman in 5th, Ty Dillon in 4th, Joey Coulter in 3rd. Where did he come from? Timothy Peters in 2nd, and James Buescher in 1st. Congratulations also to Ty Dillon for winning the Rookie of the Year. So now let's get into some comments from our panelists and our co-hosts. And we're going to start with Glenn here. What did you think about this race in general? And then what do you think about James Buescher being your Camping World Truck Series champion?
Well, the Truck Series race was rather interesting as we got into 10 laps of racing to go. And, who'd have thought Cale Gale was going to get it? I mean, Cale did something that was just absolutely fantastic. I mean, he just basically battled Kyle Busch, and he beat and banged, especially coming down to take home the checkers. And if that wasn't a cool finish, then tell me what is. And I like the fact that Cale Gale finally got a win, and I knew he was going to get a win at some point here. So congratulations to him. In terms of the championship, you knew that Turner Motorsports was gonna get something here. I mean, James Buescher only had 4 wins this year, but that was just enough, as well as consistent finishes, to keep himself up there. So nice job for him. There was actually one point in the race where Ty Dillon could have passed him and become our champion, but another car that was just a field filler and just right there just took him out. So it's a shame that had to happen. It's a shame that even any wrecking had to take place, especially for the title. But not a bad job for Turner Motorsports.
Marshall.
I think we can all agree that no question that that was the best truck race or best race of the weekend at Homestead, and 2 is that was obviously the best championship. Congrats to the 31 team of James Buescher, and I'm so glad that Cale Gale got his first truck win. I mean, a couple weeks ago at Martinsville, I heard an inspirational story about him painting the tracks and him talking with all the to people at Martinsville about painting the curb there. So great win for that young man. He was really emotional in Victory Lane down there, but I think it's something. I think he'll definitely get back to Victory Lane next year and possibly contend for this championship. But in matters speaking of the championship, God, James Busher wins it. Woo! I mean, Ty Dillon, you gave him a run, but you came up short, buddy. You had the entire season to catch him. By how many points was it? Like 2 or something? 2 spots. James Busher beat you in the entire year, so I mean, that's racing, so go get him next year, Ty, but hopefully James can move up to a Turner Motorsports car in Nationwide and go get them, but it's going to be hard with, we'll get in that later with all those good drivers, we'll say that, coming down to the Nationwide Series, and bucks up, the truck season's over. That was my favorite series this year, but anyway, back to you, Tyler.
And in fact, we're going to have some power rankings and stuff about the 2013 season and who you think is going to win that in a couple of weeks when we don't have much to talk about. So don't say anything about that right now. But, that's just a very interesting, hard-fought Homestead race. So now let's go into your hot topic. This is kind of a new thing that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to actually reform the NASCAR thing to make it more exciting for the fans. And, just always trying stuff. So, I hope to add a few things each week. And let's start this week with your hot topic from the Camping World Truck Series. NASCAR has announced that it has lowered the minimum age for the Truck Series. During the annual State of the Sport address at Homestead Miami Speedway, Steve O'Donnell, Vice President of Racing Operations, made the following statement as he announced that the minimum age requirement for the Camping World Truck Series would be lowered from 18 to 16, and that just came out of nowhere. One of the things, he said this in a statement, one of the things I think that was evident to everyone was the influx of young talent that we've got coming through the ranks. We've announced previously an age limit change in the tours where we went to 15, and based on the opportunities for a lot of young drivers out there that are coming up through our system faster and faster. You're seeing it in the tours, you're seeing it in our Drive for Diversity program. We're going to move the age restriction that currently exists for the trucks from 18 down to 16, and that rule will be in place for road courses and any tracks 1.1 mile or less. So, this isn't totally drivers 16 and 17 cannot race on any track 1 miles or bigger. So, that kind of gets them out of the Daytona Talladega races, which is the perfect thing to do. And that gets them, and they can't race on the 1.5 miles, which I don't agree with. So, I think it should be that they only cannot go on the super speedways. And I don't know if I'd let them on the road course. So let's start with our hot topic, and we're going to go to Marshall. What are your opinions on this, and do you think it will help the sport?
It'll definitely help the sport 100%. I mean, if you got drivers out here that are trying to make their names for themselves, and this is one of NASCAR's lower series, it's still a top 3 series, but it's in third. And to get, you can't just come in there when you're 18 or 17, because really, if you're coming into the Series 17, it's the same rules as it is for the 16, if I'm correct there, that you can't race on the super speedway, so you can't compete for a championship. So to get some more experience when you're 16 and grow up, it's going to make your racing career, even by a year, a lot more experience, and it's going to get you a better spot in one of NASCAR's top 2 series in the Nationwide and Sprint Cup. It's just like if you got a 16-year-old coming in there, he's going to have to race in one of the lower divisions like the K&N West or the K&N East or something along those lines. But now he can jump in and get a little bit of experience and get a feel for it all so he can come back next year and race even better for the championship. And who knows, in a couple of years, he could be doing what James Buescher's done this year, winning the championship and just working himself up. So I think it's a great improvement for the sport. That's all I got to say.
Lon.
Lowering the age in the truck series, I don't think that was a good idea because now what's going to happen is that these team owners are going to try and bring all these young drivers up way too fast when they need more experience in the lower divisions before you come up in the NASCAR, and they're not going to know what to do. You know, it's going to be a bit of a problem, and just like what happened last night with Kyle Larson and Ty Dillon, I don't want any inexperience out there if I'm racing the truck series or even nationwide series for that matter. You know, I personally don't like the change that they made here. It's just asking for trouble.
And here comes my opinion, which is going to be probably different. You know, first, why make it for the 1.1 miles or less? You're going to put drivers on short tracks? Wouldn't it be more evident to put them on 1.5 milers? Where it's not as close of racing? And second of all, to get your NASCAR license, you have to be 14, so you're going to have 2 years in between before they can go to the trucks. Ooh, I don't know. Maybe if you're like 17 and you're 1 year away from being able to go into the trucks, then maybe let them run on a few tracks. But I don't know about 16. We'll have to see how that one plays out, and we'll have to see if anyone takes advantage of that. So let's go into our next topic, and it's going to be, this should be a hot topic, but it isn't. And that is another new track in 2013. Not official, but expected to be as early as Wednesday. And as we've heard, NASCAR is expecting to add Eldora Speedway in Ohio to the Camping World Truck Series. That's a dirt track. And Greenville Pickens Speedway in South Carolina to the Truck Series schedule. The series is looking to move to Myrtle Beach Speedway in South Carolina in 2014. So that's a totally different track. And NASCAR executive Steve O'Donnell said on Saturday that experts from the University of Nebraska have developed that safer barriers used at all tracks. Something about the University of Nebraska will visit Eldora Speedway, and they believe that safer barriers should be at all tracks, especially Eldora. So, this Greenville Pickens Speedway is a half-mile paved track in South Carolina, and they're moving forward to adding barriers. So I'm going to start with my opinion on this. Adding a new track is what this sport needs. That's great. But South Carolina already has Darlington. Shouldn't they try to add another track out west where you don't see as many tracks? That's my opinion. But adding a new track is great, and Eldora Speedway will be great because, first, Ohio's a big racing community, and not having a speedway in the top 3 series is not right, I guess you can say. And yeah, I'm from Ohio, but I would still stand with that if you knew how big racing was in actually this whole state, except for the Cleveland area. So, I don't know. I don't know about this Greenville Pickens. I don't know much about it. But come on. Let them race out west a little bit more. We're going to start with Glenn on this one.
Well, yeah, adding new tracks is pretty good, but I am very much against the trucks racing at Eldora Speedway because you can't put these heavy tanks out on a dirt track. I'm sorry, you can't. You basically gotta take a car that is like a Whelen modified, or not a Whelen modified, but one of the modified, the late models, even the winged sprint cars. can race on there. But trucks, nay. Greenville Pickens, Tyler, you brought up a great point. They already have a Truck Series race in Darlington, or a track in there. But Myrtle Beach Speedway, I think that's actually a pretty good idea. I mean Myrtle Beach has seen a lot of action in its day, and to even bring one of NASCAR's top 3 series over there, I think that's really good. But they're certainly overlooking some really neat tracks that they could take these trucks to. I mean, I don't think the Truck Series has gone back to Richmond since, I don't know, 2008 or something, or 2009. I forget which year they stopped racing, but I can think of like 5 other good tracks that they can take the Truck Series to. But I'm sorry, Eldora Speedway is just asking for a bruising.
And to comment on that, they went back to Rockingham this year, and they'll be going back next year as well.
I said Richmond, not Rockingham.
Oh, whoops. Oops, I got my R's maxed up. Woohoo. And before we get to Marshall, O'Donnell also said that the Truck Series schedule should be released in the next week or 2. Thank you. We have been waiting. Marshall.
Well, one track that you missed, I don't know if you didn't see it or something, what's interesting is this is going to be a big deal, and it might change your comment a little bit. The trucks are going to Canada on a road course next year.
Oh, that was my next story.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, then my bad. Then I'll go on. I thought you were just giving us all the tracks. Wait, but about the Greenville Pickens thing, I've experienced a lot of races, not live there on TV or anything, but the Home Tracks radio with the K&N E-Series racing there, oh my God, there was like a wreck every single lap. It was like a great race. I mean, if you're a fan that likes all the crashing and stuff, it was a great race for the fans, and I'd love to see the trucks race there, get a little dirty down in South Carolina, and going to Myrtle Beach. That would give 2 tracks in South Carolina, which is would be great for the South Carolina racing area. And I mean, Myrtle Beach, send them down there too. I know they had a late model race there this weekend, and the late model race, there was a rain delay, so the big race, late model race on Sunday was canceled, but it's going to be rescheduled for this weekend. So, but going out west, I mean, what people don't realize is these teams aren't as good as the Sprint Cup teams, except for like KBM and Turner Motorsports. But other teams, they can't make it out west. It's just getting to cost too much. And that's what a lot of fans don't understand, is the price to get out to one of these races all the way out west from your race shop in North Carolina costs a little bit of wad of cash out of your wallet. So, but I think when they announce the schedule, I mean, Eldora getting added to the schedule, I got to agree with Glenn. I mean, trucks cannot race on dirt. A Cup car or a Nationwide car could race on dirt. There's no way that weight of the truck is going to be able to race around dirt for even half the lap before they go down into turn 1. All 43 cars will be sideways. When you think of a dirt race, you got to put a little torque in the back of the truck, or you can't go like that. And if you let out of the gas, if you're going too fast or something, because these trucks can get up to 180 miles per hour. Obviously, they won't be going that fast, but they get down in one of these corners and have to slow down. I mean, I don't think it's safe, honestly. So that's what I got to say.
Oh, and they did test the trucks, so apparently they believe it's safe. And, Eldora Speedway is not as slick as other tracks. It's more of a clay track, but it's still dirt. But it's a harder surface. So, we'll have to see how that works. Should be interesting. I want to go to that race. So, Sauter and Crafton, Sauter in the 13 and Crafton in the 88 will be returning to Thor Sport in 2013. No biggie there. And now let's go into our Canadian story that Marshall tried to get before me. And if you don't say anything before Marshall I'll get to it. So now it's the Canadian Tire Motorsports addition to the 2013 schedule, and the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is thrilled to announce that it has been included in the Camper World Truck Series schedule on Labor Day weekend, September 1st. This will mark the first ever Canadian stop for the Truck Series, and thank you, NASCAR. You need to gain fans, and by going to Canada is the perfect reason. They like their ham, they like their bacon, and they like their racing. Marshall, first. Anything to add on this?
Yep. Steve O'Donnell, what is your problem, Holmes? I mean, look, he takes away the nationwide race at Canada and puts the truck race. It just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling almost to think that he takes the nationwide race away, yet adds a truck race there. I'm against it. I don't like him going to road course, and I don't like the trucks on road courses or dirt. The trucks are really a circle track racing. I mean, if they went to a Canadian circle track, but I mean, like, there's other tracks out here, like Glenn mentioned, like Richmond. Well, who wants to go out to Canada to race a road course race when I think you can come back here and race a Richmond race or something along those lines? I wish they'd get a couple races in, like, Maine or something up top there, so the fans up there, because all they got is Watkins Glen, and the trucks don't race there. And so, I mean, get something up in the northeastern part of the United States. So, I mean,
Go on.
Well, you know what? With the truck series going back to a road course, this is actually really cool because the truck series have not been back to a road course in quite a long time. But I think that they can actually work on a road course. I'm actually kind of glad that they're gonna try and restart the Canadian deal by going to a Canadian road course. Now, we don't know exactly which one it's going to be. I mean, I know it's not going to be the GP3R track that once housed the Indy Lights series. But I think that this is actually a good move to at least get the truck series known, because you have ARCA that pretty much stays in America. Why not go ahead and take one of the lower division series, lower than nationwide truck series, and take them into to Canada? I think this is a pretty good move. I think we'll definitely see some Canadian drivers. Who knows? We may even see Alex Tagliani in a truck if this comes to fruition.
Very interesting. Thought that was on mute there. So let's go into the Ford EcoBoost 400, sorry. And that was on Sunday, November 18th. Wait, hold on. Sorry about that. The Ford EcoBoost 300, Saturday, November 17th, where I got mixed up. And this was the Nationwide Series race. Sorry about that. And Regan Smith. Oh, man, he was my pick, and Regan Smith just kind of won the EcoBoost 300. Whoop-de-doo. There was nothing really happening in this race like it was in the Camping World Truck Series race. And Regan Smith was driver of the number 5 HendrickCars.com Chevrolet for JR Motorsports. This was in his first race for JR Motorsports. He will be racing full-time next year. It was his first career Nationwide Series win. Kyle Busch finished second. Oh, that sounds like an often thing this weekend. Followed by Brandon Gong, Sam Hornish Jr., which we have more news from him in just a second. Austin Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who will be moving on to Cup next year. Brian Scott, Ryan Blaney, Elliott Sadler, and Cole Witt. Stenhouse Jr. won the Nationwide Series championship by 23 points over Elliott Sadler. Austin Dillon finished third and was also Rookie of the Year. Congratulations. Ricky Stenhouse won back-to-back championships, and Joe Gibbs' number 18 team captured the Owners' Point Championship. There were 5 cautions for 24 laps and 13 lead changes among 10 drivers. The estimated attendance was about 40,000. And Stenhouse just beat Elliott in those last 2 races, and that's what really sealed the deal. But, I think Elliott Sadler had a better year, but, coming down to those last few races, those just killed him. So, we're going to have more power rankings and stuff for this Nationwide Series, but, in a couple of weeks, but, I don't know about Elliott Sadler. The Nationwide Series Championship, of course, had stats to go along with it, so let's get into some. Ricky Stenhouse was the driver of the number 6 Cargill Ford for Roush Fenway Racing this year. He will be moving on the Cup next year. And the number 17 schemes were just posted for that thing. And man, does that new Ford Cup car look sweet. Ricky Stenhouse becomes the 6th driver in Nationwide Series history to win championships in consecutive seasons, joining Sam Ard, Larry Pearson, Randy LaJoie, Dale Earnhardt Jr., I heard that name, and Martin Truex Jr. Stenhouse finished 23 points ahead of second place Elliott Sadler, and Stenhouse finished the 2012 season with a series-high 6 wins, along with 19 top 5 finishes and 26 top 10s. Woo! So now Roush Fenway Racing has some stats to go along with it as well. And this is Roush Fenway's 4th Nationwide Series Drivers' Championship. And this is the first time that Roush Fenway has won consecutive driver standings in the Nationwide Series. It came in 2003 with Greg Biffle and Carl Edwards in 2007. And Stenhouse last season. This is manufacturers of Ford's 4th Series Championship, and yes, all by Roush Fenway Racing. Crew Chief Champion was Mike Kelly. This is Mike Kelly's 2nd consecutive Nationwide Series Championship. Kelly and Stenhouse have combined to post 8 wins in the last 2 seasons. And yes, the 18 won the Owners' Championship, and this is Joe Gibbs' 4th Nationwide Series Owners' Championship, also winning from 2008 to 2010. It ties Richard Childress Racing for the most all-time in this series. The 18 this year was driven by Logano for 13 races. He won 9. Denny Hamlin for 12 races. Michael McDowell for 4 races. Ryan Truex for 2. Drew Herring for 1. And Mark Martin for 1. The 18 has 7 wins, 22 top 5 finishes, and 28 top 10s, and just a great year of racing. So now let's get into your final standings for the 2012 championship. And yes, Danica Patrick finished 10th, woohoo, and she's going to the Cup. Brian, she's not ready, I'm sorry. Brian Scott finished 9th, Mike Bliss 8th, Cole Witt 7th, Justin Allgaier 6th, Michael Annett 5th, Sam Hornish Jr., look for him next year, 4th, Austin Dillon 3rd, Elliott Sadler 2nd, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who moves on to Cup. So that's all I have for that. We'll have comments in a few minutes. We're running really behind. So let's get into our hot topic, and it is Sadler to Joe Gibbs Racing. Elliott Sadler will drive a full-time Nationwide Series schedule for Joe Gibbs in 2013. And he also could be driving in a 4th car for Cup a few races. Also, Kyle Busch will be driving a part-time Nationwide Series extent with Joe Gibbs Racing. Not his own team, but Joe Gibbs Racing. We don't know about Kyle Busch's Nationwide Series for next year, but he hopes to run one entry, and Gibbs said that he was unsure which numbers would be assigned to which drivers. So now let's start with Glenn on this one. Do you think Sadler going to Joe Gibbs Racing will improve his performance? And what did you think about that Nationwide Series race?
Well, you know what? Sadler going over to Gibbs, I think it might help him out. But if you take a look, if you go back to some of the races that were in the Nationwide Series, including at the beginning of the year, the two car of Elliott Sadler finished ahead of the Gibbs cars a lot of times. But now that he's going to be racing possibly the 18 car alongside with Brian Vickers, I think it'll actually benefit him a little bit better, and I think he can get a better shot at the championship. Maybe the owners' championship, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But also, the Nationwide Series race, that was actually pretty good because in this one, there wasn't much of a point swing between Elliott Sadler and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I mean, there was a few times where it looked like Sadler was starting to, move his way up and close the gap. But every time that Sadler would drop a space, Stenhouse was always right there. In fact, Stenhouse did what he was supposed to do: stay in tow with Sadler and try to keep the points gap as big as possible. And you know what? He did. And so that's really cool that he got back-to-back titles. And I'm sorry for the technical difficulties because I'm getting some different signals going on here. I'm trying to work through them, but yeah, not a bad way to cap off the Nationwide Series, and hopefully next year with the Chevrolet Camaro and some of the new things that they got coming for the Nationwide Series, maybe it'll become it'll be a cool season in 2013.
Marshall.
Well, I think Sadler is the one that's not getting the job done. It's not his team owner, Richard Childress. He's won 3 nationwide championships with Kevin Harvick in 2001, Kevin Harvick again in 2006, and Clint Boyer in 2008. I think Elliott Sadler stepping down from Childress and going to Gibbs shows that he's not as good as them. It's a bad career move. It really is. I mean, what's Gibbs going to help him with? Gibbs has a bunch of guys that always run like select races out of the year. He's not going to have a strong teammate to rely on or anything. I mean, bad decision. And just touching on the race here, because I know we're getting close here on time. Congrats to Ricky Stenhouse in the number 6 for Jack Roush, and congrats to brain freeze here. Let me back up. Congrats to oh Lord, this is bad. Who won the nationwide race? Someone help me out here. Oh, Regan Smith. Okay. Congrats to Regan Smith on his first win in return of the Nationwide Series. So that's obviously a sign of good things to come. So without further ado, knock it back to Tyler.
And here's my opinion. Yes, Sadler. You finished second 2 years in a row. Going to Gibbs, you're going to be the second man. I hope you give up the number 2, because that number 2 is going to give you nightmares. Brian Vickers is the number 1 guy over there. End of story. And also, Elliott Sadler, there's no room for you to go to Cup. They're going to put Brian Vickers in a ride, probably. You're not going to have an open spot. You stay with Richard Childress. Jeff Burton's going to be retiring soon, I would expect. There's a spot open for you, and Kevin Harvick's leaving. That puts Austin Dillon in there. Oh, boy. Moving on. Austin Dillon captures the Rookie of the Year honor. Ooh, good job. He will be good next year, but with Regan Smith and Brian Vickers in there, ooh, that's going to be tough. And I did not mention Elliott Sadler. Hornish Jr. will be back with Penske for 2013 to run full-time Nationwide Series and part-time Cup. Mr. Penske, thank you. Thank you for letting your driver mature. That's a pot shot to Tony Stewart. Why are you moving Danica Patrick up? Ugh. And let's go into the Danica Patrick story, and we're going to have our comments after this, so I'm not the only one commenting. Danica Patrick could drive for Childress in 2013 and just not go to JR Motorsports. Maybe fill in for what Elliott said was left behind, because Danica Patrick's going to be running full-time Cup with Stuart Haas. She's not ready. And like most of you heard, the 2013 Nationwide Series schedule was released. The only difference is Mid-Ohio is on that. And thank you, NASCAR, for finally realizing that Ohio is big in racing. And I think that's all I have. There's a few races where they have a different race than the Sprint Cup Series. I don't like that at all, unless it's a track that the Nationwide Series can't race on. So now before we get into the Cup, we have some awards banquet. The banquet for the Camping World Truck Series and Nationwide Series started 4 minutes ago, 8 p.m. Eastern, today, Monday, November 19th. And it will be on Speed TV November 30th. November 29th. That's a Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern if you want to watch it. I don't know what's going to happen today. And Friday, November 30th at 12 a.m. Eastern will also be the re-airing for that. And then the the NASCAR Sprint Cup banquet's always exciting because Howie Mandel, if you know him from either Deal or No Deal or America's Got Talent, he will be hosting the Sprint Cup Series Awards. That will be on, if you want to watch them, they will be on Friday, November 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern on Speed, and Saturday, December 1st at 12 a.m. will be apparently the re-airing. So now let's get into your final Sprint Cup race review for the whole year. And boy, was it interesting. It came down really to fuel mileage, and the two drivers that didn't have to fuel at the end and have to make a pit stop. It's just so ironic. Jeff Gordon and Clint Bowyer. Woohoo, how many times have we heard that? Those two names in the last... reword this. How many times have you heard those two names in the same sentence in the last about 2 weeks? A lot.
Many.
That's more than many. So, it came down to fuel mileage, and Jeff Gordon and Clint Bowyer didn't have to pit, and who would be the one to make it 53 laps and make the checkered finish line first? Well, the one with 53 laps and crossed the finish line first was the silver car, the silver 20th anniversary car for DuPont. That is Jeff Gordon. He won the Ford EcoBoost 400 Sprint Cup Series race at Homestead Miami Speedway for his second win of the year and his first win for Hendrick and himself at Homestead. Woohoo! And his 87th career win. He's going to get number 90 next year. Ironically, big surprise, Clint Bowyer from the second, followed by Ryan Newman. I believe that's a free blooming onion today. The last one of the year, you better take advantage. Kyle Busch led the most laps, again, and didn't win. Greg Biffle, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Almirola. Hello, Eric Almirola. He's becoming something. Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Johnson, who came into the race 20 points behind it at one point, was 2 points behind the race leader, made a stop on lap 213, and 213 came in his nightmares because a lug nut was left off the left rear, and Johnson had to pit again, falling to 25th down one lap. That allowed points leader Keselowski to coast and make an extra point to be safe. And then Johnson had a rear gear issue. That ended his day. He went behind the garage, finished 36th, and Bowyer, who finished second, moved up to second in the championship by 1 point over Jimmy Johnson. Johnson ended up finishing 36th and third in the points, like I just said. And Brad Keselowski wins his first Sprint Cup Series championship. And if you taped it or if you watched it, boy, was that SportsCenter interview after very interesting. Brad Keselowski was a little drunk. He had his huge glass of beer because it's just ironic that Miller Lite's his sponsor. And he just kept drinking halfway through the interview. It was a very awesome interview. Just look it up on YouTube. It's all over the place. And it was also the first for Roger Penske. It's the first since 1975 that a Dodge driver won the championship. And it won't be repeated next year because Dodge is leaving the sport. And it could be the last since Dodge, we don't know if they're going to come back. They would like to. Kyle Busch led the most laps, but for the 9th time in a row, when leading the most laps, he failed to win the race. So Kyle Busch, pull over and let someone else lead the most laps, and then go and lead the nice, important lap. There were 3 cautions for 17 yellow flag laps, and there were 19 lead changes among 8 drivers. And, oh man, was that a very interesting point here. And before we get into the points, we have some quotes instead of some stats. And from Roger Penske. First, I want to thank the media and obviously all the fans that turned out for these races for 38, 39 weekends around the country, and all the folks in our company, some 40,000 that supported us. But I guess this was the plan. We talked about it earlier in the week, and we stayed on the plan. Obviously, the man on my left, Paul Wolf, and during the interview he was on his left, was a great operator from the standpoint of getting Brad where he needed to be, pulling this team together over the last 3 years. He's been absolutely amazing. And for me, it's a goal that I had. So you can see that it wasn't easy. It just didn't line up and go today because Chad Knaus and, as I said, the elite group, Hendrick Boys and Jimmy Johnson, were very strong today, and they were throwing everything they could at us. It's something I can't hardly believe right now, and I played this race in my mind over the weekend so many times of what could happen, and could it be yes or no. But I guess when Jimmy lost that lug nut, I said someone gave us 4 aces right there in our hands. So what we need to do is to be sure that we didn't drop them. But I just want to thank Paul for the great job he's done in building this team. And, of course, the drunk Keselowski, he was partly drunk, had some comments. He said it feels pretty good. It feels really good. Those are the same thing. I can't believe how everything just came together over the last, 3 years? And this is coming right from his mouth. Has it been 3 years that we've been together? 3 years Paul and I have been together? We're 2 for 3, Paul. I was just thinking about that. 2 of 3, that's what? 0.66 average? I don't want to round up there, but that's pretty good. It gets more interesting. And you know what? I feel like the best is yet to come. I really do. I feel like this team with these 2 people sitting next to me, which was Roger Penske and Paul Wolf, what we can do, anything we set our mind to, if we work together like we have over the past few years. I really do. I really do. And I just feel fortunate to be where I am right now in life and with racing. To guys like this around me, because you're the product of what surrounded yourself by, and I'm surrounded by the best. How nice. But as sweet as life gets, to know that you have people around you that can make up for you when you make mistakes, because we all make mistakes, and I have made a ton of them, but I know that when I make them, I've got people that got my back. So thanks, guys. Very nice, Keselowski. And your final points for the year: Dale Earnhardt Jr. finished 12th, Martin Truex 11th, Jeff Gordon 10th, Tony Stewart 9th, Kevin Harvick 8th, Matt Kenseth 7th, Denny Hamlin 6th, Greg Biffle, Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson, Clint Bowyer, and then Brad Keselowski coming in first. And Jeff Gordon got in the 10th by 4 points. That means he's going to the banquet, and Martin Truex is not. Where did your favorite chase driver finish at Homestead? Well, Brad Keselowski obviously won the championship. He finished 15th. Jimmy Johnson, 36th, rear gear. Casey Kane, who had a great run all day, had a late pit road penalty. He finished 21st. Clint Bowyer 2nd. Denny Hamlin 24th. And Matt Kenseth 18th. Greg Biffle 5th. Kevin Harvick 8th. Tony Stewart 17th. Martin Truex 6th. Jeff Gordon won the race. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. 10th. And there's one stat that will prove that Brad Keselowski, if you go to the old standings, and if you go to the old format, I should say, if this was, I shouldn't say, it's the classic system using current point system, but does not include the chase system. So if you got rid of the total chase, Brad Keselowski would still be your champion, but Greg Biffle would finish second, 19 back. Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, and Clint Bowyer would round out your top 10, and Jeff Gordon would finish 13th, and Kyle Busch would finish 10th. So, maybe Kyle Busch wants to get rid of the chase, but I don't think Jeff Gordon wants to. And let's get into our hot topic. We're running low on time. We're going to have to skip our special segment, so let's get into our hot topic, though. And the new look ready for the sixth generation. And, they're unveiling a new look for the 2013 Sprint Cup Series, and they've all been released except for the Chevrolet that will be revealed Thursday, November 29th in Las Vegas during NASCAR Championship Week. So, what's the changes in this scheme? Well, here you go. The driver's last name will be featured on the windshield. Obviously not in the middle of the windshield. I had someone really ask me, where in the windshield? It's on the top. You put it in the middle, oh boy. Sponsor decals will not be permitted on the headlights and the taillights. Two key distinguishing characteristics of the auto manufacturer's brand. Car numbers will also be moved from the lights to the front and rear bumpers. A single sponsor logo will be permitted on the roof under the number. I totally disagree with that. What's the point? Team sponsor decals will be permitted to extend past the front edge of the B-post. Good job. And step and repeat background patterns will be permitted on the side of the car. Due to a slightly smaller car, the car number will be reduced by 10%, and the decals will be reduced to 26 square inches. And, you can't really imagine it over talk show, but just look it up online, the sixth generation Sprint Cup car, and it'll be all over there. And it's very interesting. The only thing, I love the driver's name on the windshield. It's going to be so good for drivers or fans, anyone, really, to see which car that is. And then the only thing I don't like is the sponsor on the roof. That's always for the number. That's going to, when cars are going at you 180 miles per hour, and you're just a NASCAR rookie, I guess you can say, and when you're just coming in a NASCAR and you're at the race and you're looking, you can tell by the number on the top of the car. And now you're putting a logo there that could be the same color as the number. Oh, it's just pointless. Why put it on there? But I like all the other things. So let's get into our hot topic and our really race and a championship battle, and we're going to start with Marshall on this one.
Car looks nice. I mean, I don't care what the car looks like. NASCAR, they're going 200 miles per hour. You barely see the car. So, congrats to Spring Cup Series champion Brad Keselowski. Congrats to Jeff Gordon. I mean, it was a great race. Wish Bowyer would have got up to his rear bumper. That would have been interesting, and NASCAR would have been sitting on the edge of their seats, getting ready to call someone to holler. If you didn't know what happened at Phoenix, we're not recapping because it's over. So, great 2012 season for the Sprint Cup Series. Can't wait to be back in action for the Gatorade Duels in February and the Daytona 500 and get this bad boy season underway. I mean, but Keselowski, I don't see him pulling the championship back out again, but I mean, who knows?
Before we get to Glenn, I just want to comment that, well, those actions at Phoenix, Gordon regrets those. Big surprise, Glenn.
Well, yeah. I mean, Jeff Gordon winning last night was absolutely cool. But believe me, that Cup Series championship had us on the edge up until Jimmy Johnson's problem with the rear gear, and it's definitely a shame because for a while it looked like that Jimmy Johnson was going to beat Brad, and then it just went back and forth and back and forth. Oh. And you know me, I've always said that I've always wanted to see things play out on the track, but sometimes these things happen. So nice job for Brad Keselowski. I think at the beginning of the year, I sort of said that you gotta watch out for Brad Keselowski because I think he could get the championship. But that was really cool, and he got the captain his first championship. As for the changes to the cars, NASCAR is becoming the NASCAR German Touring Car Series because touring cars have very similar stylings to what these cars are going to look like next year. We have the Ford Aston Martins and the Holden Chevrolets in here, and hey, we have Ford. Well, excuse me, not Ford, but Toyota Camrys that look like you just took a Camry off the street, slapped a few decals on, and raced. But it's sad to see the old car go away and be turned into the NASCAR German Touring Car Series.
I think the new cars look sweet, but yeah, they kind of do look like there's touring cars. So let's get into some buzz. And the topic that goes in with buzz just happens to fit. Richard Petty, this was hysterical when I saw this. But Richard Petty says that NASCAR made that full phone rule up. Hall of Fame driver Richard Petty says that NASCAR was hypocritical in fine-pointing leader Brad Keselowski for carrying a cell phone in his car last week at Phoenix. Petty said that I think it's hypocritical because he did it at Daytona, and then NASCAR had a big meeting with everyone and said, "Oh man, that's great. Everybody go out there and do it as much as you can." And then they say, "Whoops, you ain't supposed to have that in a race car." NASCAR's all-time win leader said on Saturday at Homestead Miami Speedway that I don't think that was in the rule book. I think they just made it up as they went. Oh boy. And let's go into Richard Petty Motorsports. And they re-signed Ambrose and Almirola. Also, some other news. Budweiser and Jimmy John's to follow Harvick to Stewart Haas Racing. Any other comments on the Camping World Truck Series? On the Camping World Truck Series, the Nationwide Series, or the Cup Series? We'll start with Glenn. Anything else?
Not really. I don't really have too much else to comment on these series. I think we could probably go ahead and go into our F1 picks for Interlagos and call it a night.
Absolutely. Let's go into our Formula One picks, and will be our last picks of the year. How just unfortunate. So, NASCAR's over. IndyCar's been over. Wish they had a longer season. Every other series is over except Formula One. They're going to go to Brazil for their final race of the year, coming after Turkey Day. And, will this be an interesting race? Comes down to Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso. So let's start with picks. Pulling out of a hat right here. Brazil, very interesting. And the first pick will go to, let's see here, Glenn.
Whoa, okay. Well, as I said in the report, this is certainly a handling racetrack, but I think the big question is, can anybody beat Sebastian Vettel to the win? And normally I don't like picking Vettel twice in a row, but I pick him for the championship. But for the race itself, I'm going to go. What the hell, Sebastian Vettel.
Glenn with Vettel. I think he took both of our picks. Who knows? So drawing the other name out of the hat. And it will go to. Oh, lucky me! Woohoo! I get the next pick, and I'm gonna take Marshall's pick, because that's what you get for saying your pick before the race, or before the show, or even before the race. Thank you for giving me Mark Webber. Marshall.
Thank you for not stealing my pick, because I love tricking people. I mean, shoot.
Sure.
I'm picking the 2006 winner and the 2008 winner, the Ferrari of Felipe Massa.
Ooh, very good picks all the way around.
I think Mark Webber was your pick. I think you just made that up.
Well, how did I do that he was the 2006 and 2008 winner?
Well, Mark Webber won it last year and in 2009.
Well, it's luck.
What?
I'm kidding.
I thought so. So, we don't have time for a special segment. That's just unfortunate, because it happened to be a battle.
Oh, no. Oh, my favorite ones.
So I will have to say that next week. You don't know what it's going to be, because I don't want people studying for it. It will be between Glenn and Marshall, so you'll have to wait till next week for that. And before we get to final thoughts, you can follow Motorsports Nation on Twitter at MotorsportsNAT, or go to motorsportsnat.com. That's our new blog site. We've got tons of information up there, tons. Check that out. It's updated every day, almost every hour of every day. So we're still a little slow on the F1 and the IndyCar.
Wonder why.
And, that we'll get those up soon. And we've got so many series on there. I'm sorry if you have a mobile device and when you go to menu, you have to scroll down very long. So let's go with the final thoughts, and we're going to start with Glenn.
All right. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at GL2488, and I posted a few great pictures from the weekend, and I'm glad that the season's done. I'm glad we're in the off season, because now that this can give us a chance to recharge our batteries. And for any fans that are listening, we'll see you in St. Petersburg just to start the next season.
Marshall.
You can follow me on Twitter at Gabelle Racing. And that site that me and Tyler have done and stuff, it's going good. And I hope that you guys can check that out while we're not on the air. So if we're not on the air and you're like, where's Motorsports Nation at? Because we all know you are. Just check out our website. It's updated like every day. The main page changes every 6 hours. So, cool website, dudes. You can, like I said before, follow me on Twitter. Great show again tonight, guys. We got the V8 Supercar Series and their season finale and F1. Good luck to everyone's picks.
So yeah, that's actually going pretty well. And motorsportsnat.com. That's all I have to say. So the NASCAR season was great, and I'm sure the Formula One series will end on a great note. And this was a great show. So, have a great holiday season is beginning now, and if you go shopping on Black Friday, you're absolutely crazy. Huh. And you know what? First time I'll ever say this, I feel bad for the Walmart employees. Why are they making them work at 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving so people can line up at 8 and get all their cool technology? That's not Black Friday. That's just ruining families' Thanksgivings. Ugh. You know, this is a motorsports show, and final thoughts can be about anything. And this one was about Walmart employees. I feel bad for Walmart employees. I really do. And I'm glad that in Washington, D.C., in Milwaukee, in Chicago, and a few other small cities, they went on strike. Woohoo! Go Walmart employees. That's what Walmart gets for making their employees work at 6 p.m. Eastern on Thanksgiving. Have a great week, everyone. We'll be back next week at 7 p.m. Eastern. Follow me on Twitter at TylerMeyer54. Hopefully we'll get some more stuff about the show and a few other things up there, since I didn't get to a few things I wanted to get to on this show. So, like a meeting. Woohoo. So, that's all I have. Have a great week, and if you celebrate this holiday, have a great time, and if you don't, you can always still give thanks. Have a great week, and enjoy your turkey.